even the highest gods, those supreme rulers who govern thunder and light, sometimes gather not for a war council, but for a meal, a massive, volatile feast that holds the power to decide the fate of entire cities and civilizations. Welcome, listeners of Veritas Antiqua. I'm here to walk you through this incredible material. Today, we will journey together into the depths of the divine feast to uncover the secrets of this ancient myth.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have fascinating source material detailing not one, but two related divine feasts where the cosmic powers of the sun and the storm dramatically clash.
That's right.
And our sources, they span from the ancient city of Ebla to the later vast Hittite world. The mission for this deep dive is to understand precisely why a simple, excessive dinner between divine beings could escalate so quickly and incite the wholesale destruction of nations below them.
Such a fascinating question.
So our journey begins in Ebla, where the stage is set by the immense anger of the storm god. He is just furious with the people of Ebla.
And the sources suggest it wasn't for anything particularly monumental, just the ordinary failings that might set a supreme deity on edge.
Right. So he decides to take this grand trip. He sets out with a kingly air, strut, and wrath, and approaches the door of the sun goddess of the underworld, Allani.
What's so fascinating here is how even the ancient commentators struggled to define the motivation for this unannounced visit. If we look at the source notes, there was speculation even then.
So they were trying to figure it out too.
Exactly. Some suggested the storm god intended to dominate the underworld to extend his power over the realm of the dead.
That makes a certain kind of sense.
It does, but the source text itself explicitly dismisses this theory. It even notes that the underworld wasn't really worth the effort of occupation.
Wait, so if the source text dismisses that, why would the storm god, who is already furious with the world above, even go to the underworld in the first place? Was it purely for status, a flex of divine muscle?
It seems to have been precisely that, a display of supreme status, perhaps.
Right.
Or, a strategic meeting point away from the mortal realm, because others speculated that this great gathering was where the gods would specifically decide the complete ruin of Ebla.
Ah.
Okay. What we do know is that his presence was terrifying and immediate.
It certainly was. Allani, the sun goddess of the underworld, she clearly wasn't expecting this guest of honor.
Not at all.
The texts capture her immediate and intense anxiety. She rushes, we see her tightening her glorious belt to seat the storm god on a high honored seat, placing a large stool for his colossal feet.
She's described as spinning rapidly around him, just utterly focused on his comfort.
Worried she might make the slightest mistake in her service. I mean, the pressure on the host is just immense.
Mm-hmm.
And then comes the feast itself. Allani prepares this massive banquet without delay, and you have to wonder about the sheer logistics of this moment.
Of course.
This is the realm of darkness, of nothingness and ghosts. Where exactly did she manage to find this incredible astronomical bounty?
And that question takes us directly to the function of this myth. It's a demonstration of power, not reality. The scale of her generosity is almost impossible to wrap your head around.
It really is.
It suggests that the display is far more important than the actual consumption. We were told they slaughtered 10,000 cattle and 30,000 fat-tailed sheep.
Wow.
And that's before you count the uncountable numbers of kids, lambs, and goats sacrificed for this single guest.
I mean, 10,000 cattle, that's enough food to feed well over a million guests, and it's all sourced from the realm of the dead.
Right.
How do you even begin to rationalize that scale of preparation? It almost seems deliberately impossibly vast, just to show that even in the underworld, the storm god's presence mandates cosmic-level expenditure.
It does. It signals that this isn't just a dinner. It's a meeting of two supreme forces. And the scale of the hospitality reflects the immense tension and, the ultimate stakes.
And the tension only ratchets up when we get the description of the storm god's appetite.
It's quite something.
His physical description is truly fascinating, detailing his frightening appetite and his physical size. His hands and fingers were so immense they were described as being like shovels.
Perfectly suited for loading up this enormous meal.
Exactly. And his mouth was like the entrance of a furnace. We are told that he could reportedly devour nearly a calf in a single devastating bite.
It's the physical details that bring this narrative to life and make it so memorable. When they describe his mouth as a furnace and his hands as shovels, this is not just grotesque. It reveals how the ancients viewed consuming power.
That's a great point.
Power is not subtle. It is vast, overwhelming, and potentially destructive. The idea that his long beard swept the floor, continuously snagging pieces of fat that fell from his chewing. It adds that element of chaotic, overwhelming gluttony.
I mean, imagine being one of those underworld servants trying to navigate the dining hall with a divine beard sweeping up the fallen bits.
A terrifying cleanup job, certainly.
We also get a glimpse of the other guests at this very uncomfortable divine table. Seated on the storm god's right were these unusual figures, former kings and rulers who had once reigned but were now banished to the underworld.
Witnesses, perhaps, to the fate that awaits all mortal power.
Yes, exactly.
And Allani, the host, she never allows herself the comfort of sitting. She continues her tireless service as cupbearer, spinning around, ensuring every possible demand is met.
Right.
The narrative then pauses dramatically when she stops directly opposite the great storm god, looking at him continuously. The text says she regards him with deep respect, love, and admiration. And just after that intense, almost loving gaze,
The text just breaks off.
it breaks off, leaving us with the mystery of how this monumental, tense banquet actually concluded.
So this intense, loving gaze leaves us hanging on the personal dynamics of the deities. But we know the profound political reality that followed for the people of Ebla.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, even if the storm god, known in this region as Teshub, returned to the heavens satisfied, his demands on the city were not forgotten.
That's the crux of the matter, isn't it? The feast was merely a prelude to the ultimatum. The storm god still insisted that Ebla carry out a specific ritual, which the Eblite people referred to as the Uzgurba Rakma, or the freeing ritual.
And this demanded the release of two extremely valuable groups, the captive Bura and the people of Ikingali.
These weren't just any people, they were crucial to the economic structure. The people of Ikingali supplied food for 6 kings, and Bura supplied food for 9 kings. This was a massive political and economic shakeup.
It was an act that redefined the power structure of the city by force. And we see the consequences if they refused. The storm god approaches Meki, who's described as the 10th king, and details the specific, horrific consequences if Ebla failed this required ritual.
The threat is so visceral and absolute. Teshub promises that if they refuse this act of freedom, he will personally return in 7 days to destroy and plunder Ebla,
Just reducing the entire city to rubble.
as if it had never been inhabited. He threatens to break the city walls like a cup, crushing the foundation stones of the central city.
And perhaps most symbolically devastating.
The hearths. He threatens to throw the hearths, those vital, sacred symbols of home and domestic stability, from the upper city into the lower city, and the hearths from the lower city directly into the river.
He would seize their capital and destroy their means of survival, right down to the domestic core.
And this raises a profoundly important question about the social cost of that freedom, because it wasn't a simple release, was it?
No, not at all. The sources note a highly unusual, almost philosophical requirement for someone to be freed under these conditions.
What was that?
The individual being freed must first initiate an act of comparable sacrifice and release. They must release their own slave, send their son to the street, and their wife to her father-in-law's house.
That's a staggering requirement. Why? Why was the liberation of one group equated with the forced dissolution of the family structure for those who sought freedom?
It implies that true freedom, in the eyes of this divine mandate, was not achieved by simple decree, but by a rigorous and often painful act of social sacrifice.
So to gain release, you have to release everything.
Precisely. You must demonstrate your willingness to break the most fundamental human bonds of ownership, of family, of marriage. It was a complete social realignment designed to accompany freedom with sacrifice, essentially making freedom an absolute state separate from all human attachments.
And we know this divine ultimatum was not received lightly. The sources show us discussions, partially preserved, between the wise man Meki and another official named Zazala about freeing the nearby city of Kumia.
Right, which suggests that these demands and the extreme rituals that followed were highly controversial and debated among the elites.
So it wasn't just a decree, it was a political crisis playing out in the halls of power.
All stemming from the volatile atmosphere of a divine dinner party.
Now we transition from Ebla's anxious underworld feast to a very different table, the Hittite myth, which scholars refer to by its archive identifier CTH364.
Often called table diplomacy.
Or, perhaps more accurately, a dinner fight between the two great forces. In this case, the sun god, Istarnu, is the host, and the storm god, known here as Teshub or Tarhunta, is the guest.
The setting is described as perfect, the food prepared flawlessly.
But the air is thick with contention before the meal even begins.
The contrast is palpable. In Ebla, the conflict was largely external. The storm god was already angry at the mortals. Here, the conflict is internal to the feast itself.
So it's not a friendly meal.
No, it's marked by intense contention and a persistent verbal argument right across the table.
And again, the storm god is the central agitator. He is once again depicted as insatiable and gluttonous, consuming excessively and seemingly making requests or demands that were far out of line for a guest.
One of the most fascinating interpretations is that this entire scene is a mythic allegory for meteorology.
Oh, how so?
The narrative depicts the sky storm consuming the sun's resources. What does that mean on the ground? It could describe a period of prolonged drought or scarcity, where the power of the storm, the rainbringer, is dominant but ultimately destructive by absorbing all the solar warmth and provision. The tension at the table reflects the tension in the atmosphere above.
That perfectly captures that unstable equilibrium. This raises an important question then about hierarchy and respect. The Sun Goddess Allani, the host, grows cold metaphorically and may be literally insulted in his own home by his guests' incivility and limitless demands.
The atmosphere must have become instantly electric.
Pitting the massive elemental powers of fire and storm directly against each other.
It's the ultimate divine standoff. The conflict is set to boil over, possibly resulting in violence or banishment or some catastrophic cosmic consequence for the mortal world watching below.
Light and thunder, poised for an explosive confrontation.
But frustratingly, the text breaks precisely at that critical moment, leaving the resolution of this elemental feud forever unknown to us.
So what does this all mean when we look at both stories? From Ebla to the Hittite world, they seem to share this powerful core narrative thread.
Absolutely.
The volatile, dangerous reality of when two supreme elemental forces, the warm, life-giving sun and the fierce, destructive storm, sit at the same table. Their interaction is fundamentally unstable.
And this instability has massive, immediate consequences for the entire mortal world below.
Whether that involves forcing a huge social and political reorganization like freeing prisoners or the threat of destroying a foundational city like Ebla, the dinner table is the world's most dangerous place.
These fragmented myths reveal that the most crucial decisions for humanity, the destruction or salvation of a city, the determination of famine or plenty, the restructuring of an entire society, were often made not on the open battlefield of the gods,
but over a dinner.
but over a dramatically tense and excessive dinner between powerful, volatile forces.
So that broken ending of the Hittite text.
Yes, where the storm and sun stand poised for battle across the table. That is perhaps the ultimate statement. It suggests they are meant to be perpetually locked in that state of tension, unable to achieve full resolution. Their conflict, like their coexistence in the sky, may be eternal, and we mortals live in the fallout zone of that unresolved dinner.
I hope you've enjoyed our journey into this mysterious world of divine feasting and political peril. If you liked this deep dive, please consider sharing it with a friend. Until we meet again next week to follow the trail of another ancient legend, take care.